For centuries, matcha belonged to Japan. Think tea ceremonies, the ancient city of Uji near Kyoto, craftsmanship spanning generations. Today, it belongs to the world.
I just don't care where it comes from. So yeah, because I love the product itself, so I will buy it.
Because the global shortage is very demanding now. So that's why we saw it before. So we saw it coming. So quite a long time ago, we lock in. We had a 12-month contract with our supplier to lock the volume, to lock the price. So that's why our customers will not see a shortage.
Now that worldwide obsession has rewritten the matcha map. China is now the top producer on the planet, accounting for around 70% of global output. So, who owns the future of matcha? The country that turned it into an international icon, or the nation that's dominating production? And the one that actually first brought tea to Japan centuries ago. I'm Genevieve Woo, and joining me are CNA Correspondent Michiyo Ishida in Tokyo and Correspondent Tan Sehui in Beijing. Now, both of you ladies traveled from traditional tea houses to industrial-scale factories to find out how the two neighbours are taking very different paths to satisfy the world's appetite for matcha. Michiyo, let's start with you in Japan. You know, one number that really caught my eye. Analysts estimate that the world wants around 100,000 tons of matcha every year. Now visualize this, 100,000 tons. That's 150 Olympic-sized swimming pools filled with this green powder. Japan simply cannot produce anywhere near that. Now, has success become Japan's biggest problem?
Actually, it's not a problem for Japan. The matcha boom rescued Japan's tea industry, and that's what some stakeholders tell me. Demand for tea started to show a decline 30 years ago, and with that, tea production dropped by 30% in 20 years. Retail prices remained stagnant, meaning it was not a profitable business. Bottled tea, since its introduction, was popular, and those in the industry thought, this could perhaps help stimulate demand for leaf tea. But it didn't. Production fell, tea farms closed, with workers aging and the working environment becoming harsh due to climate change and higher cost of logistics. And it doesn't really make sense doing business in this kind of environment. But the recent matcha boom boosted business opportunity. And that's even so in Uji in Kyoto, the home of matcha. It welcomes the matcha boom. Compared to other tea leaf growing regions, they have a strong customer base, as the matcha is used for tea ceremonies. In Kyoto, which was Japan's ancient capital, was where tea ceremonies were important. But now it's being sought by the non-ceremonial population, and especially acceptance is strong among foreigners and overseas. Since the matcha boom, the basic retail price of matcha jumped 3 to 5 times depending on its quality. And I've actually been looking at matcha cans, 30 grams selling for more than $200 in Uji. And as matcha can fetch high price, tea farms are trying to increase the production of tencha, or the leaves for matcha. So, okay, these leaves. But there's a limit to the volume due to limited land space and limited human resources. And at the same time, it's trying to protect the Uji brand. I visited Hori Shimeien, which owns one of Japan's 7 historic tea farms. And this one has the only surviving one. It's determined to protect Uji matcha. And Jen, that determination to protect Uji matcha came through very clearly when I spoke to Shunta Hori, who married the daughter of the historic tea house.
We're carrying the branding of the legendary 70 Gardens as the only surviving estate. It's about the estate, the soil, the climate. We should recall our roots and tell this to the world.
So for the Hori family, it's about pride and history. And the pride is reflected in producing premium matcha. And the Hori family showed me the step-by-step procedure to make matcha at their plant. Today, machineries are used to steam, to dry the leaves, which is completed in about 25 minutes. Then the dried leaves are made into powder on stone mills. And at Horishimei, particular stone mills are used for the premium quality. During the tea picking season, or for about a month, the mills are spinning all day long except on Sundays, according to the Hori family. And it's due to the rising demand of matcha all around the world.
So the operative word here is premium quality, right? Now, so Japan isn't trying to make more matcha at any cost. It's trying to protect what makes its matcha special. So Japan is guarding tradition. Now let's cross over to its neighbor. China seems to be racing to satisfy demand. Now, Sihui, China produces 70% of the world's matcha. How did China go from nowhere to becoming the top global producer?
I think it didn't exactly come from nowhere, because earlier you also mentioned that China also had a history with matcha. And just like what Michiyo mentioned earlier, there was a lot of pride by the Japanese producers. It's the same here in China. There was a lot of pride. They want to reclaim what China says is a Chinese tradition. And throughout the time that I was there, I went to the tea fields and I saw a banner, and this banner said "Song Cha Ling Gui, Cha Mai Xin Sheng." It means, and it's referring to the Song dynasty where matcha had traced its roots, and they're saying that the spirit has returned back to China. And so there is a renewal of sorts, and that was what we saw with Guizhou's transformation. It was one of the poorest provinces in China, and now it's become the matcha capital in China. Tongren City in Guizhou, that was where we were at, is southwest of China. We had a good climate over there for tea picking, tea growing. There was also a strong local tea culture. There's also, importantly, strong support from the local government. So a decade ago, they saw the rise of China's local tea beverage industry, bubble tea, milk tea, and so they saw this enormous potential. So I spoke to the biggest matcha producer in China. It is based in Guizhou. It's called Gui Tea. So what they did a decade ago was that they did a lot of market research. They did visits to Japan, and they saw this enormous potential for matcha. And so that's when they decided, and Guizhou itself, they decided to revive the tea fields. The local government provided subsidies through poverty alleviation programs. There was technology advancement. So the machines to process tea leaves, I went to the factories, and their machines, they say, cost 40% less than imported equipment. And then, of course, global demand for matcha exploded. And so China came in as a big player. Gui Tea, they were telling me in 2019, when they first exported matcha, it was only a few hundred kilograms. And right now, 2025, it was more than 1,000 tons. So that really clearly shows just how much that demand has exploded and how China has become a player in this.
Right. Now, listening to both of your stories, right, I don't actually hear two countries chasing exactly the same price, right? Japan seems to be selling craftsmanship. It's very proud of its heritage. And China seems to be selling scale, right? Are they actually competing for the same customer?
Yeah, that's an important question, because when I was there, they made it clear as well that China's products are not in the higher tier matcha segment. They are mainly positioned in the mid to lower tier segment. But as Gui Tea says, the China's biggest producer, they did tell me that you don't need the top tier matcha for beverage grade matcha, like your matcha lattes, your matcha desserts, and matcha cakes. So let's take a listen.
The vast majority of demand in the international market is for beverage-grade matcha. This type of matcha doesn't need to be as ultra-premium or as meticulously crafted as the matcha produced in Japan's renowned growing regions, such as Uji. In China, we have advantages in terms of our tea plantations and our labor force, which allow us to scale up production very quickly.
Actually, now I want to demonstrate to you the matcha powder that they had showed me from China. I need to open this. It's taking a bit difficulty. So you let me, I might have to open it like that. You have to delete it after.
Do it.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
A true blue or true green matcha fan here.
Absolutely. So I'm going to show you the matcha powder by Gui Qi. So I'm not sure if you can see it right here. So one of my interviewees had demonstrated to me that you can see from here, the matcha powder, it's not it's not the high tier one because you can see it's not
You need
as
to lift it a bit, I think. Can you lift it a
yeah,
little bit?
it's not.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not as soft. It's a bit more cluttered and it's not
Okay.
as powdery and soft like what you see in the higher end kind of matcha powder.
Okay.
But again, majority of demand doesn't require refined matcha. Think again, the cafes, ice cream, cakes. And in fact, they mentioned that for those, you in fact need a stronger tea flavor to blend well with other ingredients like milk, coconut, various flavorings. So indeed, China isn't trying to replace uji yet. They're supplying the mass market that Japan cannot meet, and that is through scale because that is China's competitive advantage. So abundant tea plantation, labor advantages. Guizhou alone has 180,000 mu or 12,000 hectares of tea plantation or 17,000 football fields.
Michiyo, your thoughts?
Well, Uji branding indeed has a name value. It's the home of matcha. The question is, does everyone want premium matcha, or does the general public want to take matcha casually? Okay, let me explain to you my image of matcha. I'm Japanese, right? But I do not casually take matcha because I think matcha is a choice for ceremonial cases. You know, if you're going to have matcha, you have to hold the bowl correctly, turn it, and then take a sip all the way, and then you turn it back. You have to clean the edge of the bowl where your saliva has touched, and then gaze the bowl to see its beauty and think, oh, will I ever meet this bowl again? You know, all this process you have to go through, and it's like, oh my goodness, you know, do I have to do this every time when I have premium matcha? Well, actually, I was lucky enough that the president of Hori Shijime and Chotaro Hori, he actually made matcha for me, you know, with the whisk and in a nice bowl. And he said, don't bother to go through the ceremonial steps. So I didn't. I took it. I genuinely enjoyed it. Premium matcha. It is not bitter at all. You don't add sugar. You don't add milk. You just take it as it is with hot water.
I think truly two different types of customers. Can you imagine us at work doing the whisk, doing the ritual, and then rushing for a meeting? No, I don't think so. I think that's not, for us at this kind of setting, we'll just
time.
grab and run, isn't it? We just grab and run. So it depends. Are you in slow living weekend, or is it another day at the newsroom, right? So, which brings us to something, I want to talk about other customers, right? When they consume matcha, do they realize what they're paying for? When people pay more for Japanese matcha, for example, what are they paying for? Is it for the tea itself, or the centuries of reputation? Michiyo.
Okay, to be honest, I don't think the Japanese people, generally speaking, pay for premium matcha. It's specific people who pay for premium matcha. The general public, like myself, will not purchase matcha. They will buy sencha. I have sencha packs here, but sencha is cheap. For instance, Shizuoka Prefecture, which is near Tokyo, much of the tea it produces is sencha. It's your regular green tea. And that's the kind of tea that the regular person will go for. But sencha farmers have been suffering because sencha's prices have not been rising. Ironically, because of the matcha boom and people starting to shift from sencha making to tencha making to make matcha, there's less sencha available in the market now. And so the price of sencha is rising too. So there's this irony, currently in Japan's tea market.
So wait, what about the price consciousness of it? Do you think people know what they're paying for?
I think the pricing here in China is still not high. It's still quite affordable. When you buy a cup of matcha from China, you're also investing in innovation, because since throughout the interviews, they were always telling me that they're refining technology, R&D, technical expertise, improving the quality of products, because they're really trying to produce a distinct Chinese tea flavor, different from Japan's matcha, which is more umami. So they're trying to produce a distinct flavor that could be more floral or fruity. Some are fresh, like soy milk. Gui tea, which I spoke with, say that they are much more than a supplier of matcha ingredients. They're also thinking about developing products. I also spoke to a restaurant owner who according to him, pioneered a matcha noodle, which I have right here. So innovating interesting foods. They're trying also to grow the demand for matcha by eating matcha. So this is also a matcha bird's nest congee. So that's something that they're trying to develop here.
Wow, I'm getting hungry looking at the products that you're bringing to this. Well, okay, moving on. With the headlines then, maybe the headlines, it's probably the matcha demand. But from what I'm hearing from the both of you, at the heart of it, it seems to be about two completely different economic models, isn't it? I mean, one country believes scarcity protects quality, and the other country believes accessibility grows the market, right? Can both models thrive together, or does one eventually squeeze out the other? Michiyo.
No, I think both models work, and competition is good in a way, because many people in Uji and in Shizuoka have been telling me that they're welcoming the competition in the matcha industry, because it actually creates more activity or creates more business for Japan as well. But Japan actually can't expand. Japan can't produce more matcha. So it wants to rely more on China to actually produce in terms of volume, and leave it up to Japan to produce the good quality matcha.
I agree with Michiyo. Both models complement each other, the high tier and the mid tier, simply because global demand is too much. But give China's market some time, it may eventually squeeze out Japan, because a growing proportion of Gui tea's newly produced matcha falls into the high quality premium category. And I asked my interviewee, how long do you think China will take to secure an important position in the international market when it comes to high tier matcha? They told me at least 5 years.
All right. Well, given, the government investment in China, you're right. I don't think China as a producer is going away anytime soon, isn't it? So one final question for both of you. Now, 20 years from now, right, when someone orders a matcha latte in Singapore, in London, in New York, will Japan still define the world's best matcha? Or will China define what the world simply thinks of as matcha?
Okay, when we talk about Uji matcha, given its 500 or 600 years tradition, and that its mother tree is still there standing for 400 years, it won't be a surprise to see it retaining its position as the premium matcha producer. The question is whether other regions, which shifted to making tencha for matcha, did the right thing from sencha. Because a professor I've been speaking to, Mr. Yoriyuki Nakamura of the University of Shizuoka, questions whether the matcha boom will actually continue for years to come. 20 years, as you mentioned. A boom comes and goes. So 20 years, will it last? And also, I'm starting to hear that after the matcha boom will come the hojicha boom, the roasted tea boom. So if that happens, then that's going to be the next big trend.
And the next podcast. Sihui, what do you think?
Maybe. Well, I think that's interesting that Michiyo says that the boom may not last, because China is already looking long term. It already has plans to grow the industry into a $1.5 billion business by 2030. So that's about another 5 years. But if it's 10, 20 years, we may not know. But they're already making technology and production upgrades. There's a lot of government support. So I asked Gui Tea, the biggest matcha producer, where does it see itself in 50 years' time? It says it wants to be the largest producer and exporter of matcha. And again, I sense this confidence throughout my interviews. With this restaurant owner, I asked him, do you think China will surpass Japan? He said, 这是必然不用考虑的. He said, this is definitely something that will happen. You don't have to think twice. So who knows? One day we may not call it matcha, we may call it matcha in China.
Well, we'll see. And thank you both for this lovely chat. And of course, I'm feeling kind of thirsty now.
Oh, would you like a sip?
Yeah, we have it here.
Well, okay. Ganpei.
Ganpei and kanpai.
Ganpai too. Thank you both. Now, if this story tells us anything, it's that success creates different challenges. Japan has demand it can't keep up with. China has capacity and wants the world to fully embrace its product. One is protecting a legacy. The other is building an industry. And somewhere in between those approaches lies the future of matcha. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the CNA Correspondent podcast. It's brought to you by Tiffany Ang, Net Vetivero, Craig Dale, Zikri Ayman, and me, Genevieve Woo. Bye for now.